And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Mr. Dane Clark as star of Till the Day I Die, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spears.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines, those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now, a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you Dane Clark in a remarkable tale of
Suspense.
I'd practically worn a track in the linoleum, and I was on my third pack of cigarettes in 3 hours. I was jumpy as a 3-year-old thoroughbred that's flunked the saliva test. Partly it was because you always feel like that after a job. Partly it was the idea of staying holed up in that crummy dump when I had enough dough now to buy a good-sized hotel, but mostly it was Pat. She and I were washed up anyway, even if she didn't know it. And when you're washed up with a dame, almost... But when it's the kind of bellyache that she was doing, it's enough to get you set for a canvas course.
It's the future I'm worried about, Frankie.
Oh, what's the matter with the future? It doesn't look like you'll ever be on any breadlines.
No, I don't mean that. I mean our future, yours and mine.
Well, stop worrying about
I
it.
can't. You didn't have to do it, Frankie.
What do you mean I didn't have to do it? The guy had his cold. We were walking out of the place with a bag full of dough, and all of a sudden he steps around the corner and slaps a light in my face.
But you didn't have to kill him.
Oh, I suppose I should have given him cab fare to the police headquarters. He'd have put the finger on us, don't you understand that? He'd have given the description to the cops, and a good description is all those guys need, because sooner or later, sister, they get you.
I don't know, Frankie. I just never figured you'd ever do a thing like that.
Stop it. Look, you've been going out on these jobs with me for over a year now. You know what the score is. What do you think we carry a gun for looks?
Yeah, but this is different, Frankie. This is murder.
All right, so it's murder, and the only difference between murder and what you've been doing is that murder gets you the works, and armed robbery only gets you 10 to 20.
Doesn't it even bother you?
Well, why should it? A guy I don't know the first thing about, a guy that just had the tough luck to be working late in the joint we stacked out the crack? A guy I don't even see his face. I don't know what he looks like even now.
He was a man, though, Frankie. He was a human being.
So what? Guys are knocked off every day. Guys you don't know anything about, only what you read in the paper. And do you worry about it? You do not.
I don't like it, Frankie. I don't like any part of it.
But you like that 50 grand in the suitcase over there. You like that all right, don't you?
I'm not so sure, Frankie.
Oh, I'm not so sure.
Because I was in on this, too. Maybe you don't have a conscience, but I do. A man was murdered, and it was partly my fault. You don't just brush off a thing like that,
Shut
Frankie.
up.
Sooner or later, it begins to work on you. Sooner or later, it begins to catch up with you.
I said shut up.
And when it does, you... Oh!
Now forget it, will you? I'm sorry I hit you. Look, I'm a little nervous now. Pull yourself together, will you? Anyway, it's time to go out and get the papers. Come on. Run down for him like a good kid, will you?
All right.
And see if you can get me a couple of packs of cigarettes while you're at it.
All right, Frankie.
And stop worrying. Nothing's going to happen.
I can't help it, Frankie.
Listen, Pat.
Yeah?
I don't like you to worry, see? Because you might get ideas.
What do you mean, ideas?
I mean, you might get some ideas about saying something to somebody.
Oh, Frankie.
And you know what would happen if you did get any ideas like that.
You don't need to worry. Because I do know. Now.
I went over to the window and I watched her go down the steps to the street and then start for the corner. I knew I didn't have to worry about anything yet, but having somebody around who can put the finger on you for a murder rap isn't so healthy. I was just starting on my 4th pack of cigarettes when I heard her running up the stairs. All right.
Hurry up, Frankie. Open the door.
All right. Well, you don't have to knock the... What's the matter? Somebody after you?
No, but look at the paper.
Let's see. Oh, front page, huh? Repair Loot Brokerage Office.
No, the picture.
What about the picture? It's me. It's me. Listen, Pat, there's only one place in the world they could have got a picture of me.
No, don't listen, Frankie. Don't you. You're hurting me. Look what it says.
What about it?
Look at it. Look what it says under it.
Huh? Philip Abel, accountant, shot down. No. It couldn't be. It can't be.
It is, though, Frankie. It's the man you killed.
It couldn't be, I tell you. Why, that's me. It's exactly like me, any way you look at it, even the way the hair is parted. Look. Why, it's some kind of a mistake or something.
You know it isn't, Frankie. How could it be?
I don't know.
I don't have any picture of you. You told me you never had any taken. You said you'd been smart. You hadn't let him take your picture since you were a kid.
Yeah, that's right. I never did. But it's almost exactly like me. I couldn't tell the difference myself.
It's just one of those freak things. The guy you didn't know or care about. The guy who wasn't going to bother your conscience one little bit. The guy you killed turns out to be your double.
Yeah.
It's sort of like killing yourself.
Shut up.
I told you, it's not so easy to kill a
Come
man
on, give me
without...
that paper.
Frankie, what are you trying to do?
I'm tearing up that picture, see? And now, I'm burning it. See? And it's over with. It's forgotten, see? It's nothing but a little pile of ashes. I never heard of the guy. I don't know the first thing about him. I don't even remember his name.
I do. It was...
Shut up! I don't want to hear about it. Ever. Maybe I should have let her talk about it then when she wanted to. If I'd really got to thinking about the face in that picture, it might have made some difference. I don't know. It might have saved my life, but I don't know.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Dane Clark in Till the Day I Die, a radio play by Martin Ryerson. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Ken Niles with a friendly suggestion. Now that summer is over, this is the time when friends drop by to say hello again and swap vacation yarns with you. Make these evenings of friendly companionship rich in hospitality by serving a delicious Roma wine. Yes, a glass of Roma California sherry, port, or muscatel does taste good. And with Roma wines on hand, you're always tastefully prepared for unexpected guests, because delicious Roma wines lend an air of graciousness and goodwill to the most casual get-togethers. You know, there's a solid reason why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. That reason is finer taste. The finer taste of Roma wine is born in California's richest vineyards. There, each year, a vast, juice-laden treasure of choice grapes is patiently, unhurriedly guided to tempting perfection by Roma's unmatched skills and resources. Then, along with Roma wines of years before, this treasure of taste awaits selection from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. No wonder so many Americans insist on Roma, R-O-M-A. Roma wines for unvarying goodness at reasonable cost.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Dane Clark in Till the Day I Die, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I won't say it didn't get under my skin, because it did. To bump a guy off, and then to see his picture in the paper the next day. And it's a picture of yourself. Feature for feature. The spitting image. I guess it would get anybody. But it was like Pat said, just one of those freak things, so what was the use of worrying about it? What was worrying me more right now was that somebody must have seen us making our getaway, because the cops knew it was a man and a woman who pulled the job. And that wasn't good. It meant that we were just that much easier to spot. It meant that With 50 grand in a suitcase under the bed, we still had to stay cooped up in that crummy rooming house day after day waiting for the heat to slack off. And finally, I couldn't stand it any longer.
Yeah, but Frankie, I thought you said...
I know what I said, but I'm going nuts in this place. I got to get out.
All right.
It'll mean we have to separate for a while.
Separate?
Now, keep
Frankie...
your shirt on, will you? We can't hang around here, so one of us goes to Chicago and the other one goes to Philly. You take your share of the dough and
I don't want any share, Frankie.
Are you still beefing about that? That I killed a guy?
I just don't want the money,
All
Frankie.
right. Take a couple of grand and anything you want, enough to last you a while. But you're getting out of town, see?
All right, Frank. But I got enough money.
Okay. Have it your way. You go to the Allerton in Philly. You know the place now. And you wait for me there.
For how long, Frankie?
A month, 2 months. How do I know? Until it cools off. But I'll get in touch with you. And when the heat's off, we'll meet someplace like KC or St. Louis. And then we'll head for the West Coast, right?
Frankie.
Yeah?
You won't forget to show, will you, Frankie? Because if you're going to, I'd rather know it now.
Forget you, baby? When you're the one person in the world who can put the finger on me for murder? Don't worry, baby. I won't forget you. I walked Pat to the subway station a couple of blocks from where the room was, and I said goodbye to her there. Then I bought me a couple of ready-to-wear suits, a few shirts, shoes, and the rest of the trimmings, and I stuffed everything in a brand-new Gladstone and hopped the bus for the railroad terminal. I wasn't doing anything or thinking anything. I was just sitting there in a bus on a seat all by myself, looking out the window, and up front somewhere, the kid was hollering, and I didn't pay any attention to him. I figured the kid was just calling to his old man to come and sit down or something. I went right on looking out the window. Then all of a sudden, I felt a tug on my sleeve, and the kid was there hollering at me.
Daddy! Oh, Mommy, come quick! I found Daddy!
I turned around quick, and kneeling there beside me on the seat was a blonde, curly-haired kid about 4 or maybe 5 years old. I don't know much about kids' ages. He was laughing, and yet there was big tears running down his cheeks. I don't go much for kids, but there was something about this particular character that...
Daddy! It's Daddy, Mommy!
Hey, now, wait a minute. Just a second, kiddo. I'm afraid you got...
Hey, what's got into you jumping up on that seat and shouting at the gentleman?
It's Daddy, Mommy! It's my Daddy!
Teddy, I'm awfully sorry, sir, but Oh, no.
She was standing there, just like I'd seen her a million times, with that long blonde hair and those big expressive eyes. Yes, I'd seen her before, but always with my eyes closed. This was the first time I'd ever seen her with my eyes open. Is it so crazy? Haven't you got some kind of a person in your mind that you've always dreamed about? Her eyes were fastened on my face, wide and full of expression. I couldn't figure it. But she got very pale and licked her lips, and then she began to sway, and I jumped up and I grabbed her.
I'm all right.
No, look, you're not all right. You better sit down here.
Thank you. Maybe I will.
Sit here, Mommy. I'll move over.
That's this gentleman's seat, Teddy.
Oh, that's okay, Kitty. You stay put. There's plenty of room here for the three of us.
All right, if you insist.
Well, I do insist.
It is Daddy, isn't it, Mommy?
No, darling, I'm afraid it isn't. I'm so sorry. You must think we're both a little insane.
No, I only looked for a minute there as if you saw a ghost or something.
I'm afraid for a moment I thought you were a ghost.
Me, a ghost?
Yes, I know it sounds perfectly ridiculous, but for a moment there, I thought you were my husband.
Now I get that daddy routine.
Yes, it's almost uncanny, but he was the image of you, the very image.
The image of me?
Yeah, only, see, he's dead.
Huh?
Teddy hasn't quite gotten used to the idea yet. That's why he mistook you for his daddy. Philip was killed only about a week ago.
About a week ago?
Yes, perhaps you read about it in the newspapers. Philip Abel, killed by a hoodlum who was robbing the brokerage office where he worked.
There was a terrible knot inside my stomach. I tried to speak, but the words got lost somewhere in my throat. I looked down at the kid with the blonde curly hair, the cutest kid I'd ever seen in my life, and I was a guy who killed his daddy. I kept thinking, this kid is what my kid would have looked like. I had to get a grip on myself. All right, so it was a coincidence. I happened to get on the same bus with the wife of the guy I shot down in the bank, but how was I supposed to know he had a beautiful wife and a curly-haired kid when I shot him? To me, he was just a Joe who stood in my way. So it was a coincidence, that's all. Anyway, I was getting off the bus at the end of the line, catching a train for Chicago, and that would be that. Well, they rode almost as far as the railroad station, and we sat there and we talked about a lot of different things. And it wasn't hard to talk to her somehow. And that kid. And then finally, they were getting up to leave. And then the kid reached up, and he did something no kid had ever done to me before. He kissed me.
If you ever come back to this place, Mr. Kane, we live right down this block, 7th house from the corner.
I'll remember that.
Goodbye, Mr. Daddy.
Goodbye, son. I bought my ticket for Chicago one way. I went down and got aboard the train, and the porter showed me my seat. But I couldn't get myself to sit down in it. I went out and stood on the platform. I stood there a long time. I tried not to think about her. I tried not to remember her face and the kid's face with all those tears. But it was no good. There was everything I've wanted all my life. A home, a kid, and the right girl. The girl. And why not? If she'd married Abel, she'd marry me, wouldn't she? Wasn't I the very image of the guy? Didn't she say that herself? Didn't the kid even call me Daddy? Why not? Porter.
Yes, sir?
Hey, get my bag.
Well, we're getting ready to pull out.
Get my bag off this train.
Yes, sir.
Why, Mr. Kane.
Oh.
It's Mr. Daddy.
Hi, Teddy. Hi.
Oh, gee.
I thought you were on your way to Chicago.
There was a wire waiting for me when I got to the station that told me that the business deal I had there had been called off, so there wasn't any need of me going. And then I remembered your invitation, so I...
Certainly never expected it to be filled so soon.
Well, if it's too soon, I'll go and I'll...
Don't be silly. Come in, please.
Gee, I'm glad you're home. I mean...
I went into the house. It was everything I knew it would be. Neat, well-furnished, nothing overdone, just a real solid home. And we went into the living room, and there in a big silver frame on the Braby grand piano was the same picture that had appeared in the newspaper. A picture of him.
That's Philip. He does look like you, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. Quite a lot.
You can hardly blame Teddy very much, can you? Or me?
No, I guess I can't. After those first few uneasy moments, I guess you could say everything settled down to routine. I became a regular visitor. She and Teddy called me Frank, and I called her Barbara, and I had dinner with her a couple of times a week, and we went to the movies and the shows and even a couple of night spots together. Did I feel funny about moving in on a wife and a kid of a guy I killed? Why should I? The guy was still a total stranger to me, wasn't he? And whenever she brought up the subject, I just ducked it. And she wasn't bringing it up so often now. From now on, it was just a matter of time. Except for one thing. One little thing. So about 2 months after I met her, I told her how I had to go away on business.
Where, Frank? Do you have to go far?
Oh, just to Philly, that's all.
Philadelphia, that's not far.
No, and, Barbara.
Yes?
When I come back, there's something I'd like to ask you.
Ask me?
Yeah. A question.
What kind of a question, Frank?
Oh, something about you and Teddy and me.
Oh. Well, will you be gone long?
No. What I got to do in Philly won't take long. I knew the Allerton Hotel in Philly like I knew the inside of my hat. I knew how to get in without being seen and how to get out without being seen. So I just went up to her room.
Who is it?
Just an old friend.
Frankie.
Hi, baby.
Oh, Frank.
Take it easy, will you? Take it easy. Don't you want to let me in?
Oh, sure. Sure, come on in. Oh, Frankie, I thought maybe you wouldn't.
Yeah, but I did, didn't I?
Sure you did. Gee, you look great. You look relaxed and happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. Now, what have you been doing with yourself, Pat?
Oh, just waiting.
Well, nice and private here.
Yeah.
I guess we better get it over with.
Get what over with?
I'm afraid I have some bad news for you, Pat.
Bad news?
Yeah. I'm going to have to kill you.
Kill me? Oh, Frankie always did have a lousy sense of humor. Only don't kid that way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not kidding.
Frankie, put away that gun. For heaven's sake.
Sorry, Pat.
But why? What have I done?
Nothing yet.
Well, then...
You see, Pat, I met a girl.
All right, take her. But you'll come back.
No, this is different. She's the wife, was the wife of a guy named Philip Abel.
Philip Abel? That's the man you killed.
Yeah, you see, Pat, you got too good a memory.
But I wouldn't talk, Frankie. You know I wouldn't talk.
That's a chance I can't take, Pat, because from now on I'm not taking any chances. From now on I'm going to be happy.
Happy? How could a thing like you be happy? A cold-blooded butcher like you. You think all you got to do is spill enough blood around and you'll get what you want, you'll be happy. Happy? Try and be happy with all the blood you've got on your hands. You'll never be happy until the day you die.
Through?
Yeah. Go ahead. Kill me. Murderer.
I will. I was back that same night, but I didn't go around to see Barbara until the next day. I called and she asked me over to dinner. And afterwards I helped her put the kid to bed and he kissed me goodnight. Then I sat down with her on a couch in the front room.
Well, Frank?
It's about that question that I told you I was going to ask you when I came back.
What is the question, Frank?
It's, Barbara, will you marry me?
Oh.
Is that all you got to say?
Well, no. No, it isn't.
But why?
Well, I've got to have a little time to think about it, Frank.
Think about it?
Yes.
Well, you must have known I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I suppose I did, but it's still a pretty serious question to answer just like that, Frank.
Well, is it that you don't love me enough to marry me? Is that it?
It's not just a question of myself.
Well, what is it then?
It's Teddy.
Teddy? Why he's crazy about me.
I know he is, but things are easy, simple for a child. I'm the one who has to think about his future.
I can take care of his future.
Well, I know you can financially. I believe that, but...
Well, what other way is there?
Well, that's what I sometimes wonder if you know, Frank. You see, you're a little different from other men I've known. You're from a little rougher mold, a little harder.
Well, I can be changed. I could...
Yes, I think you can, but I want to be sure first, Frank. I want to be sure that Teddy's father, his second father, isn't just a successful man, but that he's a good man.
Like his first father?
Yeah.
And what did he have that I don't have?
Mm-hmm. Since you ask, he had a lot of struggle in his life.
Oh, struggle.
He was a successful public accountant when he died. But it hadn't been easy for him. He'd had to work his way through college. He was an orphan. He'd been adopted, you see. Real name was Lundeen.
Lundeen?
Mm-hmm. His real parents were killed in an accident when he was less than Teddy's age. They lived on a farm in a little town called Hemley, Vermont.
Farm in Hemley, Vermont?
Yes. Do you know the place?
Lundeen.
Mm-hmm. When he was adopted by a family called Abel. He didn't even remember it himself. He was too small, but they told it. Frank? Frank, where are you going? Frank!
I started walking. I tried to put it out of my mind like I had everything else. But it was no good. It grew and grew until my head was bursting with it. Until it was the only thing in the whole world, the thing she told me. So when I got back to my room, I knew what I was going to have to do. And I sat down to write this. To tell her before I do it. It wasn't just what I'd done. It wasn't realizing that a man with another man's blood on his hands can't be a fit father to that man's kid. Or a fit husband to that man's wife. It was what she had told me. A kid named Lundeen. A farm in Hemley, Vermont. And I remembered. I knew now why I looked like Philip Abel. Because I had been a kid named Lundeen on a farm in Hemley, Vermont. I had been adopted by a family named Kane, and I'd grown up, but in reform schools mostly. And I'd lived to shoot and kill a man named Philip Abel, who was my twin, who was my brother. The gun is by my hand. Pat said I'd never be happy until the day I died. I guess she was kind of right at that.
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. And now, here is our distinguished star of tonight's suspense play, Dane Clark, and our producer-director, William Spear, carrying a huge basket of Roma Wines.
As Frankie the Killer, you deserve the cruel fate which just overtook you. I'm glad that you're dead, you rascal. But as Dane Clark, the actor, I think you deserve a handsome present for a very fine performance. So here it is. A basket of fine Roma wines from Roma and me, Dane.
Well, thank you, Bill. And while we're tossing compliments around, it so happens that Suspense is my favorite radio show and that you're my favorite producer, and that Roma, my favorite wine. Let's see if Roma Sherry is here. There it is.
Oh, say, Dane, are you having dinner at home this evening?
Yeah, I am. Can a late dinner with a few friends after the show.
Well, you'll find, along with all of Hollywood's famous hosts, that Roma California Sherry is the perfect first call for dinner. Of course, it's the favorite of millions everywhere, anytime. It's the ideal wine for afternoon or evening parties. Yes, at any time, there is no other wine so good in so many tasty ways as fragrant golden amber Roma Sherry with its tempting nut-like taste.
I'll go along with you on that, Ken.
But do you know why all this is true, Dane?
Of course, there are reasons why delicious Roma Sherry is so good. You see, only Roma, America's foremost vintner, selects for your enjoyment from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. And because Roma's vast winemaking resources are unmatched anywhere, Roma Sherry, like every Roma wine, is better tasting always. So, ladies and gentlemen, for gracious hospitality at your next party or simple evening at home, serve Roma wine, largest selling wine in all history.
Well, Dane, how are the Warner brothers these days?
Oh, they're fine. Of course, I've been seeing more of the Davis sisters.
Betty and Betty, you mean, in The Stolen Life? You were fine in that picture, Dane. As my Aunt Judy says, you took off your part real good.
Oh, my compliments to your Aunt Judy. Who's for Suspense next Thursday, Bill?
Well, next week it's a story about an unfortunate but murderous-minded clerk, an accountant, who does what many a downtrodden employee must have often at least considered doing. He kills his boss. Our star will be Gene Lockhart. I think you'll like it. It's quite a character study.
Well, I'll certainly catch it next Thursday, Bill. And thanks again for everything. Oh, by the way, Bill, thanks so much for having Kathy Lewis and Betty Lou Gerson on the show with me tonight. I think they're wonderful.
They are indeed. Good night, Dane.
Next Thursday, same time, hear Gene Lockhart in Suspense.
Presented by the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California.
In the following week, Suspense will present such stars as Judy Garland, Rita Hayworth, and Edward G. Robinson. Make it a point to listen each Thursday to Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Mr. Gene Lockhart as star of Statement of Employee Henry Wilson, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now, a glassful would be very pleasant as Roma Wines bring you Gene Lockhart in a remarkable tale of
Suspense.
I was aware that I was trembling. I tried walking slowly back and forth in front of the desk, but even in motion my knees felt weak and my whole body shook. Why was it always I who trembled, and never this pompous insect sitting in front of me? His voice was cool and mocking. His voice was clear and hard.
I sympathize with you, of course, Wilson, but the error must be brought to Mr. Larkin's attention. That's quite a big mistake there. Quite a costly mistake. Mr. Larkin must know. In the morning.
He wouldn't cover it up. I knew that. Since 1938, I'd been working there, enjoying the work, liking the people. Then he had come, 2 years ago. Have you ever stood quietly by and watched someone rob your house or steal your pocketbook? I was helpless. He was ambitious. He was clever, and he was fluent. And as of tonight, I was his subordinate. 2 years against 10 years. Around the office, I had a reputation for being casual and carefree, but I hated this man. Every inch of me hated this man. It wasn't a new hatred.
Of course, there's no question of your honesty.
His voice was patronizing. The patient teacher and the unruly pupil. I hated him. He smiled up at me and waved his hand in dismissal. He almost brushed a small iron vase off the top of the desk with a gesture. I'd seen that vase so often, but I'd never seen it out of the eyes that I was looking at it with now.
Good night, Wilson.
Good night, I said. Good night, clever boy. I walked out into the corridor and rang for the elevator.
Terrible night, ain't it, Mr. Wilson?
I heard the boy talking, like he was yelling from some distant mountain at me. He was talking and I was answering, but what either of us was saying, I didn't know. I was thinking of something else. And then I heard him say something very clearly.
Hey, what do you know? It's 11:30 already. Say, you've had a long day today, Mr. Wilson.
Yes. Mr. Dodds is still in his office. You might drop in and see if he wants anything. I think he'd be very grateful.
Oh, I will, sir. I certainly will. Yeah, it'll help pass the time.
I walked out of the lobby and came back into the building again when the boy got into the elevator. 4 flights up. I took the stairs slowly. I was in no rush. I must let the boy get out of the room first. He said the nights passed slowly. This one wouldn't, and yet there'd be an eternity compressed in it. When I got to the 4th floor, I stopped at the top of the stairs and watched the door to Dodd's office. The elevator was parked at the floor, so I knew the boy was in the room. A short while later, he came out, and I crouched back in the shadows until he'd gone down in the car. And then I walked into Dodd's waiting room.
Who's there?
I called out my name and entered the office proper.
Yes, what is it, Wilson?
He was still sitting down, and the iron vase was still alongside of him, very close to him. I started to talk. I don't know what about. Business, things in general. I've quite forgotten. I reached across and picked up the iron vase casually, very casually. But his eyes went wild suddenly, and he jumped, and I hit him square on the top of the head with the vase. He started to slump back in the chair. I hit him again, hard, and again, and again. The red streak ran across his forehead, and he lay still. I put my hand against his heart. For a moment there was a soft beating. Then I could feel nothing. I'm often very nervous. Ordinary little situations often upset me, like getting up to make a speech at the club or meeting strange young ladies. And I had just taken a life, and I was calmer than I'd ever been before. I wiped the vase off and put it back on the desk. I moved slowly back to the door. I wiped the doorknob, looked once around the room before I opened the door, and stepped out into the waiting room. And then...
Going home, Mr. Wilson?
I stood there, afraid to turn, afraid to think. I slammed the door shut behind me and stood in front of it.
Are you all right, Mr. Wilson?
I tried to talk, but the words got caught somehow in my throat. It was the sweeper, Tom Higby, the night sweeper. Crazy Tom. I almost fainted. Everything had been set so nicely. I'd left the building. The elevator boy had come up and found Dodds in good health. Someone had stolen him later and killed him. That would be the elevator boy story. I'd left the building.
Are you all right, Mr.
the
Wilson?
building, but... I'm fine, Tom. A bit of a cold, that's all. Mr. Dodds is in his room now, Tom, working very late tonight. You'd better let his office go for this once.
Oh, well, if you say so, Mr. Wilson. Of course, I could give it a quick brush through, though, sir. I won't disturb him, then, honest.
I stood firm in front of the door.
I won't disturb him.
He began to sweep the sitting room. I stood and watched him. I was nervous again. I felt a sickness at the bottom of my stomach. I tried to talk, and I sounded stupid. Tom looked at me, and then I thought it'd be his word against mine. A crazy, rambling old man, Crazy Tom, and I had left the building.
Well. Look how dirty it was. Say, I'm a good sweeper, you know that? Yes, sir, darn good sweeper. Do you see this broom? I got a new broom. See? See my new broom, see it? Oh, yes, sir, new broom.
I looked at my watch. It was almost 12. All the time I was wasting with him, I could stand no more. Crazy Tom. His story tomorrow would be listed as an idiot's babble. I had left the building an hour ago. I couldn't afford to waste any more time. I walked behind him. He was laughing, and I hit him on the back of the neck. Not too hard, just enough to stun him. He pitched forward onto the floor. I dragged him into Dodds' office. I lifted him into the chair facing Dodds. I brought his new broom in from the sitting room and leaned it against the desk in front of Dodds. I took the iron vase, and I curled Tom's hands around it for the fingerprints and dropped it at his feet. Crazy Tom. An insult, a fight, a killing. I got to the lobby and looked out of the shadows of the elevator. The boy was sitting on a chair outside the car, asleep. I came out of the darkness, and I went quickly toward the street and began to walk rapidly. Then I had a sudden idea. I went into a cafeteria and used the telephone. I called the building I'd just left and got the elevator boy on the phone. Hello there, Jim. This is Mr. Wilson, Jim. Has Mr. Dodds left yet? The voice that answered me was sleepy, and the words were hard to make out. But I knew all the answers. Well, listen closely, Jim. Will you tell him that the address of the place we were talking about is 144 Gray Street? Yes, 14... That's right. He'll know what I mean. Will you go up and tell him now, Jim? Thanks a lot, Jim. I was sure the sweeper would be discovered in the room with Dodds. The address was a Turkish bath. That's logical. A man working all night might want to go to a Turkish bath afterwards. Jim would walk in there now. The sweeper would be caught like a rat in a trap, babbling nonsense, and with a murdered man sitting across from him. I walked home. I sat up in my room for hours, listening to the sounds Manhattan makes in the night. I heard chimes ring somewhere in the neighborhood. I heard an airplane pass overhead. And across the hall, someone started to play the radio softly, and snatches of music filled it into my room. I was frightened. I sat in my chair and prayed. What for? I don't know. Had I done everything to protect myself? Was I safe? I couldn't think clearly now. I'd left the building. Finally, I fell asleep. I sat and slept and dreamed until sunrise.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Gene Lockhart in Statement of Employee Henry Wilson, a radio play by John Shaw. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Ken Niles for Roma Wines. Right now, in sunny California's famed wine grape districts of Napa, Sonoma, Lodi, and San Joaquin, wine growers are picking nature's grape treasure. To bring you better tasting wines, each year Roma, America's greatest vintner, starts with the choicest grapes obtainable. This year, as always, Roma is crushing from the prized grapes of California's finest vineyards. Patiently, unhurriedly, the vast, succulent grape treasure is guided to tempting perfection by Roma's unmatched skill and resources. Then, along with Roma wines of years before, this abundance of taste richness awaits selection from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And whatever your pleasure may be, an afternoon or evening party, a dinner or carefree evening at home, you'll find there's a Roma California wine to enrich the occasion. For pleasant entertaining, enjoy gold, mellow Roma Muscatel, or serve fragrant nut-like Roma Sherry. Perfect first call for dinner. And to provide tasteful luxury at your dinner table, delicious Roma California Burgundy or Sauterne. Remember, more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. So insist on Roma, R-O-M-A, Roma wine. Largest selling wine in all history.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Gene Lockhart in Statement of Employee Henry Wilson, a narrative well calculated to keep you in suspense.
When I woke up, I was shaking like some miserable wet cur. I tried breathing deeply. Somewhere I'd read that deep breathing killed that scared feeling. What was I frightened about? I was safe. I was completely safe. But when I left the house, I was still shaking. I walked all the way around the block the building was on before I went inside. On the floor where my office was, I saw a policeman, then another, and then the world was bounded by a ring of police and plainclothes men. They assembled all of us in the president's office, and one of them, a sharp, alert young man, began to talk.
Last night an attempt was made on the life of one of your associates, Mr. Charles Dodds.
Oh, no. A murmur ran around the room. I was talking with the rest, being surprised with the rest. But what did he mean, an attempt? This was a trick.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Dodds was killed. And another man you might know also died last night. Thomas Higbee, the night sweeper.
Higbee, crazy Tom, dead too.
Mr. Dodds was clubbed to death. The night sweeper died of a heart attack. Nothing more is known yet about what happened here last night. You must all consider yourselves at the disposal of the police, until you're told otherwise. Mr. Wilson, will you come this way, please?
Yes.
Just a little routine questioning, that's all. Everyone here will have to undergo it.
Why, surely.
Sit here, won't you, Mr. Wilson?
Thank you.
Now, remember what time you left the office last night?
What time? Why, 11:30. Yes, 11:30. I remember the yellow boy mentioned it.
What time did you get home?
Oh, somewhere's about 12:30, I guess. Yes, just about that time.
Is there anybody who would swear to that?
Well, the elevator boy...
I don't mean that. Is there anyone who saw you go into your house at 12:30?
No, I hardly think so. At that time, the streets aren't too well populated, you know, officer. And I live in a house where people mind their own business. I really don't know anybody in the house, and I doubt if anyone saw me go into it. You can check with the elevator boy, though, as to my going home at 11:30.
Yes, we already have. You weren't on the best of terms with Dodds, were you, Wilson?
Oh, I was fond of him. I don't know what right you have to say a thing like that.
Kind of did you out of a job around here, didn't he?
Oh, he was a smart man. Mr. Dodds was an exceptionally smart human being. It wasn't at all a disgrace to lose a position to him. If I killed a man every time I had the job taken away from me, I'd have quite a long line of victims.
You made a
behind
phone
me.
call to him last night, didn't you?
To the elevator boy, yes. I remember Mr. Dodds suggesting that he'd go to a Turkish bath after he'd finished work to sort of tone up. They're very good, you know. And I mentioned that I knew a good one that I could recommend. And then when he asked me the name of it, I couldn't think of the address of the place. But I thought of it later, and I phoned the building.
Where'd you phone from?
From a little place in the neighborhood.
About what time did you phone?
About 12:25, I guess. I was getting a little mixed up. It couldn't have been then. I was still in the building at 12:30. They were confusing me.
You called at 12:55, Mr. Wilson, so you must have miscalculated the time of your arrival at home. However, that isn't important. None of us is expected to time ourselves from place to place, are we? When we find too good an alibi, we get kind of suspicious. Well, I don't think we'll have to bother you anymore, Mr. Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello there, Wilson. Very sad, this business, very sad.
Yes, Mr. Larkin, yes, sir.
But we must go on. Mr. Dodds would want it that way.
Yes, sir, he would.
It's a responsible job he had, Wilson. You've been with us long enough to know that.
Yes, sir.
You, think you can handle it?
Well, sir, Yes, sir, I think I can.
Good. Get your stuff together and take over Dodd's old office. You deserve this, Wilson. I'm sure you'll reward our confidence in you.
Thank you very much, sir.
On second thought, I think you'd better go into his office right away and sort of straighten out some of the things on his desk.
Yes.
I'll have one of the boys bring your things in later.
Very well, sir.
Yes. Good luck, Wilson.
Thank you, sir. The fat, pompous pig. They were in the spot now. Now they needed poor, stupid Wilson. They needed me to get them out of a hole. It was funny. I took a pencil and a small notebook out of my desk and went back out into the corridor. I stood for a moment outside Dodd's door, just like last night. Then I pushed the door open, slowly. The sitting room, then the door to the office. I opened it, walked inside. I heard the door close softly behind me, and I stood there, smelling the death in the air. And then, I saw it. I tried to yell, but no sound came out. There, in front of me, sitting in the chair where I'd popped him last night, was Tom Higby. His eyes open, his expression blank and staring, and at his feet was the broom and the vase, the same new broom, the same iron vase. Dodds was all that was missing. I turned. I bolted out into the hall.
Hey, what's the matter, Wilson? Why, you look as if you've seen a ghost.
In the office. Higby.
Higby? Why, Higby's dead, man. What's the matter?
Mr. Larkin. What's
the matter with you, Wilson?
In the office.
What? Why, nothing's the matter in here.
I walked in after him. There was nothing there. Nothing. No Higby. No broom. No iron bars. But I'd seen them. Was I going crazy? Was I beginning to go mad? I felt Larkin's pat on my shoulder. He murmured something about everybody being a little touchy, a little jumpy. Then he left, and I was alone in the room. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. I stood and stared at the desk and at the chair. No one was there. No one could have been there. My imagination. What?
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Not at all.
I seem to be in the wrong room. I'm Mrs. Charles Dodds.
Oh.
I'm looking for that young detective. He doesn't seem to be out here.
I believe he's in the end room questioning the employees.
Oh, yes. Then I don't suppose he'll be able to see me for a little while. Do you mind if I wait for him here?
Well,
Thank you so much.
Excuse me just a second. Frank, will you tell the detective that Mrs. Dodds is waiting for him in my new office?
Charles would have liked to see the way everybody is taking his death. Everyone is so kind to me.
Mr. Dodds was a fine man. A fine man.
Yes. You're Mr. Wilson, aren't you?
Yes.
He used to talk about you, Mr. Wilson. Thought you were a very bright person. He seemed very fun. I just don't know how I'll be able to go on without him.
Mrs. Dodds, you mustn't. You mustn't.
Sorry. He wouldn't like to see me carrying on like this, would he? You know, we were going to buy a home in Westchester this summer. He ever tell you that, Mr. Wilson?
No.
Yes, just outside of Yonkers. We have two lovely little ones, you know, Toby and little Mary. He loved the New York State countryside.
On she rambled. He liked this. He didn't like that. The children, yes, and the children. Toby and little Mary. Little Mary and Toby. She was driving me crazy. Stop it, I wanted to yell. Get out of here. Leave me in peace. Get out of here, you witch. Out.
Oh, Mrs. Dodds, Detective Lewis would like to see you now.
Oh, thank you for everything, Mr. Wilson. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Get out and leave me alone. I hadn't meant to do anything like that. I hadn't wanted to do any of the things I was doing. All I'd wanted to do was to kill Dodge. All these other things, they weren't mine. I hadn't killed Higby. He can't haunt me. His wife can't cry at me. Heart attack. Yes. Higby died of a heart attack.
Oh, I beg your pardon, sir. Have you seen Mrs. Higby? The detective is looking for her.
How would I see her? Am I everybody's guardian? How can anybody get lost in this office?
Sorry, sir. Mrs. Higby. Mrs. Higby.
Oh, stop it, you fool. You howling idiot. Can't you be looked for quietly? You'll drag Higby from his grave with your yelling.
2 widows.
What?
You manufacture widows, don't you, Mr. Wilson? Widows and orphans. Tell me, Mr. Wilson, is it your life's work, or is it just a hobby with you? Tell me, Mr. Wilson.
Who is that? Who is that talking? Do they think they can make a fool of me? The office communication system. No, it's off.
Stop it, Mr. Wilson. You'll go balmy. You've committed the perfect crime. Don't go crazy and spoil it. Perfection is instinctive with you.
Yes.
Not a plan did you make. Spontaneous perfection. There aren't many could do that.
Go on. Voices can't frighten me. They deserve to die, and that's why they're dead.
Thou shalt not kill, Mr. Wilson. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill.
No, not Higby. I didn't kill Crazy Tom. His heart stopped. Do you hear me? That's all. I didn't kill him. Now, you voices, stop. You stop. Do you hear me? Stop! I command it! Stop!
Is there something wrong, Mr. Wilson?
What? Do you hear them, too? You mustn't listen. They lie. You hear me? They lie. Now, get out. Get out! You must talk only to me. Do you understand me? Only to me. Not to these others. Don't say anything to these others. Only to me. Only to me. What do you want?
Well, I don't know.
You think they'll say something bad about me, don't you? So you can carry me off to jail. That's what you're waiting for, isn't it? Well, you're going to be disappointed. You see? They're quiet.
What's quiet? Who's quiet?
You think I'm going to tell you. They won't say anything unless I tell them to. And I'm not going to tell them to say anything. Not one little word. Last night. You want to know about last night. Ask them. But they won't tell you.
Come here, Lieutenant. Look at the expression on that man's face.
They were there.
They saw me hit him, but they won't say anything. They were there, but they won't tell you anything. Not one
monkey
word.
around. We could have gotten it out in some other way. You and your psychology. You should leave that stuff in college.
All I did was plant Higby in the office and route Mrs. Dodds in here and talked in the ventilating system.
Well, those voices had me creeping, too.
Incidentally, Dodds was single.
What?
That girl's my fiancée. She's an actress.
Well, for Christ. Why did you tell him Higby was dead?
Well, I
know. Maybe you better not explain.
A little word.
Psychology, huh? Nothing. Well, what are we going to do with the confession now? We should have pinched him the moment he walked in here.
They do what I tell them.
I'm lucky I never went to college.
There's no use waiting here. They won't tell you anything. They're mine. All mine. I tell them what to say.
Come on.
Get
the wagon up here. I'm not going to walk this thing through the street.
Henry Wilson, it is the judgment of this court that you be sent to the Hillview Mental Home and be kept there in close confinement.
On the voice went. I'd stopped listening to voices, all but the ones that I couldn't help hearing. But I'm not crazy, not like Tom. I am not crazy. I tell people that, and they look at me queerly. The stupid fools. The guards here have spread the lie that I have fits. Lies, I tell you. They say every night when the moon comes up, I have fits. Loud, roaring fits. Well, they lie. It's then I hear the voices. I hear Dodds and his wife and Toby and little Mary. And I sit quietly, listen to them. Do you think I could have a fit in front of them? Do you now? I'd be ashamed. I tell you, I'm not crazy. They lie. All of them. Lies.
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. And now, this is Ken Niles to tell you sincerely, Mr. Lockhart, that your performance just now was one of the most intense and thrilling we've ever had on Suspense. I know Bill Spear, our producer-director, agrees. Yes, I can see him waving his congratulations from the control room.
Well, thank you, Mr. Niles, and thank you, Bill.
And we want you to enjoy this gift basket of Roma wines as a token of our appreciation.
Well, thanks again. What a fine assortment. Tell me, Ken, I shouldn't say this very loud, I suppose, but Mrs. Lockhart blinked her long lashes at the butcher this morning, and for dinner tonight we're having a steak. Which Roma wine do you recommend we serve for the occasion?
Well, my choice with steak, Gene, is Roma California Burgundy. You'll find red Roma Burgundy the perfect flavor mate for a thick, juicy sirloin or porterhouse. For Roma Burgundy is so good, has such tantalizing taste harmonies with red meats, it makes even plain hamburger an epicure's delight. Yes, robust Roma Burgundy brings out all the subtle hidden flavors in hearty foods, adds richly to your enjoyment of any meal. So I'd say that with Roma Burgundy on the table, you're all set for a delightful adventure in dining.
Thanks for your advice, Ken. Now, I'm looking forward to dinner especially.
And Roma Burgundy is so good because only Roma, America's greatest vintner, selects from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines, a treasure of taste from the choicest grapes of California's finest vineyards. So every Roma wine is better tasting every time. No wonder more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine.
No wonder indeed. Who'll be appearing on Suspense next Thursday, Ken?
One of America's most glamorous stars will be with us next week, the Army's #1 pinup girl, Miss Rita Hayworth. Mr. Spear has been telling me a little about the story. I won't spoil it for you, but you'll want to tune in because lovely Rita Hayworth plays a role completely different from any you've ever seen her do on the screen.
Nobody will want to miss that. Certainly not me. Good night.
Good night, Jane.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to the ending of daylight saving, Suspense will be heard next week at a different time on some of these stations. Consult your local newspaper for the right time to hear Rita Hayworth next Thursday on Suspense.
presented by the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. Roma Wines presents
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Miss Rita Hayworth as star of 3 Times Murder, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those excellent California wines that can add so much pleasantness to the way you live, to your happiness in entertaining guests, to your enjoyment of everyday meals. Yes, right now, a glassful would be very pleasant, as Roma Wines bring you Rita Hayworth as Laura, with Hans Conried as Elmer in a remarkable tale of
Suspense.
One of the most thrilling World Series in recent baseball history. And now, the exclusive that I promised you earlier in the program. A report so sensational that I'm going to devote all of my remaining time to it. I have before me a copy of a document delivered in person today to the district attorney's office by one Fredonia Bell. Fredonia Bell was the trusted personal maid of Laura Starling Morton, whom you will remember from the widely publicized murder trial of just 4 months ago. This document is a statement written by Laura Starling Morton in her own hand, and it begins as follows. Quote, I only regret that it will be impossible for me to be present when this is read aloud. What
I shall relate here concerns 3 men. Of these 3 men, it is not on behalf of my husband Robert that I write, nor on behalf of my husband Charles. This is for Elmer. But I don't think that Elmer will ever see it. For Elmer, too, is going to die.
Laura.
Yes, Robert?
Laura, where's my electric razor?
In the medicine cabinet, where it always is.
Oh, for the love of Lord.
No, Robert, I wish you wouldn't shave while you're in the bathtub that way.
What's the difference, darling, where I shave? I like to shave in the bathtub.
Well, I just don't like to see you meddling with electricity while you're in there. You might get a shock or something.
Yes, sure. Mrs. Thomas Edison.
All right, so go ahead. I don't care.
Listen, darling, listen. I like to shave in the bathtub. I'm relaxed in a bathtub. I read in the bathtub. I think in the bathtub. And I'm not going to change my habits even for you.
I know, dear. I suppose that is a lot to expect. Robert. Robert! It was a good, loud scream. Then I stood in the door of the bathroom and looked. A good, long look. Then I called a doctor. The doctor called the police. The police called the district attorney. And I found myself confronted by a young man with red hair and glasses who gave the immediate impression of being clever, unscrupulous, and objectionable. That was Elmer.
Mrs. Williams, I'm Elmer Garner of the district attorney's office.
How do you do, Mr. Garner?
I thought that you and I'd better have a little private chat.
What about Mr. Garner?
About your husband.
What about my husband?
Miss Williams, I'm going to be very frank with you on a number of counts. I'm what's known as an assistant district attorney.
Mr. Garner, I have just lost my husband. I hardly think...
I'm coming to that, Mrs. Williams. The district attorney has put me on this case because he thinks he doesn't have a case. Routine investigation. Now, maybe that's because a DA is essentially a nice man with nice instincts. And I'm not, but I don't agree with it.
About what?
About not having a case. Because I can smell him, Mrs. Williams. I can smell him a mile away.
What can you smell, Mr. Garner?
Murder.
Oh, I see.
good. Your attitude's very good. No phony hysteria, no fake indignation. Realistic. I like that. I'm that way myself.
Mr. Garner, I'm trying my best to maintain my composure under trying circumstances. And I must say, your extraordinary insinuation does not make it any easier.
Now, look, I know you killed him. You know that I know you killed him.
Mr. Garner.
I said I was going to be very frank with you, Miss Williams. I am. On your side of the story is the fact that although I know you killed him, it may be a little difficult to prove that you killed him. Not too difficult, but a little.
I should think it might, since it's utterly untrue.
Yeah. Now, let's see what cards I hold. You're a laboratory technician. You were before you married, at any rate, right?
Right.
And your technical knowledge would have told you that a man using a faulty electrical appliance while sitting in a tub full of water stood an excellent chance of electrocuting himself.
I also know that a man firing a bullet into his head would stand an excellent chance of killing himself.
Well, the insulation on the cable of that electric razor was frayed. Now, that might have happened through normal wear. It also might have happened because it was tampered with by you.
And then again, as you say, it might not.
Would it surprise you to know that we've got your fingerprints all over that razor?
It would surprise me more if you hadn't. Or on everything else in the house, for that matter, Mr. Garner.
You're a very intelligent woman, Mrs. Williams. You're right. It would have looked funny. You were smart not to wipe off those prints. Very smart. Huh?
Thank you.
However, so much for the means. Now for the motive. We can establish, of course, that you and your husband didn't get along.
Unfortunately, you could establish that about many husbands and wives.
And that your husband was insured for $50,000 in your favor. And that there's about $50,000 more in community property, and that you inherit, right?
Naturally.
Well, $100,000 is quite a nice little motive, Miss Williams.
But it doesn't prove anything, does it, Mr. Garner?
Well, that depends on how it's used by the prosecuting attorney. That's me, you know.
I know.
Do you have a lawyer, Mrs. Williams?
Not yet.
Oh, you're a very intelligent woman, Mrs. Williams. That would have looked bad, too, if you'd had a lawyer right on tap. But you're going to need a lawyer, you know.
So it would appear.
All right. What about me?
You?
Sure, I'm a lawyer.
You've just finished telling me that you would be the prosecuting attorney.
Well, that's just the point. Why spend a lot of money on a lawyer who probably can't get you off anyway when you can spend it on me and have a sure thing? See?
Yes, I see.
All I want is half. $50,000.
No.
What's the matter, too much?
No.
Now, look here, sister. You don't seem to realize that I'm in a position, depending on how I handle this case, either to set you free or to hang you.
That, Mr. Garner, is where we disagree.
You mean you're willing to gamble and I can't do it, huh?
If you wish to put it that way.
All right. But $50,000 is going to look cheap. Cheap when they slip that noose around your neck. And there she sits, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, cold, calm, emotionless. The same Laura Williams who carefully calculated, carefully planned and premeditated the murder of her husband. I ask the death penalty. I must ask it. For ponder well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. If you set her free, believe me, this will not be the last accident to mark the bloody trail through life of Laura Williams. And when that accident occurs, when the next victim is struck down, his innocent blood will be on your hands.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
What is your verdict?
On the grounds of insufficient evidence, we find the defendant not guilty.
Well, Mrs. Williams, I guess the sporting thing is to say congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Garner.
I'll say one thing. You got what it takes. You know, the jury was evenly divided the whole first day. Do you know that?
Yes, I knew it.
So I wasn't too far wrong at that, was I?
Just far enough, Mr. Garner.
Say, listen. Again, just a sporting proposition. Tell me. Did you?
Did I what?
Oh, come on. We're alone here. Anyway, it doesn't matter because you can't be tried twice for the same thing. You know that, don't you?
Yes, I know it.
Well, did you?
Yes! You cheap, contemptible blackmailer. Yes! I killed him. How do you like that? I killed him.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Rita Hayworth with Hans Conried in 3 Times Murder, a radio play by John DeWitt and Robert L. Richards. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Ken Niles reminding you that football season's here again, and along with it, those pleasant Saturday evening get-togethers after the big game. So here's a tip when you play host. A sure way to delight your guests. Serve Grand Estate wine. For Grand Estate wines, presented by Roma, America's greatest vintner, give you the ultimate in wine excellence. Yes, the brilliant clarity, full fragrance, and mellow taste of Grand Estate wines please the most discriminating guest. To assure the outstanding quality of these limited bottlings of Grand Estate wines, Roma selects only the choicest grapes. Then at Roma's famed wineries, necessary time and the patient, priceless skill of Roma master vintners guide each precious bottle of Grand Estate wine to rich, mellow taste luxury. Yes, the host who possesses all 5 Grand Estate California wines is sure to please all tastes at all times. For pleasant entertaining, serve Grand Estate Medium Sherry, Ruby Port, or Golden Muscatel. For gracious dining, enjoy Grand Estate Burgundy or Sauterne. Remember the name, Grand Estate Wines, crowning achievement of vintner skill. Presented by Roma, the greatest name in wine.
And now, Roma Wines brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Rita Hayworth, who, as Laura Starling Morton, continues the reading of a document in 3 Times Murder, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Perhaps I gambled too recklessly with Elmer. I have since had cause to wonder. But there were things that I could not foresee as well as Elmer. Suffice it to say that after my acquittal, with $100,000 from Robert's estate, I moved into another city and took up my life again under another name. That there is Laura Starling. I met and married Charles Morton, a charming and eccentric man of twice my age, whose genius as a research chemist accounted not only for those qualities which endeared him to me, but for a very considerable personal fortune as well. That my conscience bothered me not in the least, and I was quite happy, and that as the years went by, I had seen, I thought, the last of Elmer.
Charles! Oh, Charles!
Yes, my dear.
I have your coffee.
Coffee?
Well, you said you wanted coffee. It's ready now.
Oh, but I have some coffee.
Well, you took that out there 3 hours ago. Now come in and get your coffee.
Yes. In a moment, my dear, as soon as I finish it.
Charles, you come out of that smelly laboratory and have your coffee. Besides, I have a surprise for you.
Oh, you have? Well, I'll be right in.
And bring that other coffee cup with you.
Yes. There. Now, what's all this about surprise?
Look.
What? Oh, yes. I seem to have left my glasses in the laboratory.
Charles, you're simply priceless.
Why, it's a cake.
It's a cake, yes. This is our anniversary, darling. Our 4th anniversary.
It is? Oh, why, so it is. Oh, Laura, this is so thoughtful of you. I'm afraid I'm hopeless, my dear. I know it's the husband who should be thoughtful, but I...
You're just you, darling. Now sit down and relax for a while.
Yes. Oh, here's your cup.
Thank you. Charles, what's in that cup?
Coffee.
Charles, I'm sure that even in the atomic age, coffee does not come in the form of white crystals.
Hmm? Oh, yes. I'd finished my coffee, and I was doing some other things there.
Charles, what is it?
Thiochlorate. You see, at the moment, I'm testing...
Charles.
What?
Why, that's deadly poison.
Oh, so it is. You see, the thioxine radical follows its tendency...
Charles, I wish you wouldn't mix things up in the cups and dishes that way. It's dangerous.
Dangerous?
Well, suppose you got the cups mixed up. Suppose you
Oh,
drank?
good heavens, Laura. Half the stuff we use in chemistry is dangerous if you go to drink it, but who's going to do that? It's like, well, like eating soap. You wash your hands with it every day, but who'd think of eating it, huh?
Well, now, you take that cup right back out to the laboratory and empty it and wash it out.
Well, all right.
Charles,
Yes?
I was wondering, since it's our anniversary,
Yes?
let's go out to dinner and celebrate.
Why, yes. Yes, I think that's a splendid idea. And oh, my goodness.
What?
I completely forgot. My brother's coming to see us today.
Your brother?
Well, my half-brother.
Charles, I
met-
didn't know you had a brother.
Oh, didn't you? Well, you see, he's been in the Army for almost 5 years. He just got back a short time ago. Got wire yesterday saying he's passing through town and he'd like to see me. So I thought
Does he
naturally.
know you're married?
Why, I suppose he doesn't. As a matter of fact, we've never been very close. Neither of us much letter writing, so on. But he's the only relative I've got.
And all the sympathy I've wasted on you because I thought you were an orphan or something.
Oh, I was, practically.
When's he coming?
Why, this afternoon sometime, I think. Well, I guess there's your answer. I am sorry, my dear.
Why, Charles, that's all right. Maybe your brother would like to go out and celebrate with us.
Well,
Right in here.
hello there.
Hello, Charlie.
Come in. And I want you to meet my wife. Laura, this is my brother, Elmer.
There was no doubt that it was Elmer. There was no doubt but what he recognized me. And there was no doubt in my mind as to how he intended to play his hand this time either. For he gave no public sign of recognition, but simply looked straight at me and smiled and smiled and smiled.
So, you've gone into private practice, eh, Elmer? Criminal law, I suppose?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no appreciation in this country of men who hold public office, financially at least.
Elmer, you always did have your eye on the dollar, didn't you?
What about your racket, Charlie? What have you been up to?
Oh, just puttering around here in my laboratory.
You mean right here at home?
Of course. Oh, I guess that's new since you were here last.
Well, there's a lot that's new since I was here last.
Yes, it's right in there. Right through those doors.
Yeah. Isn't that sort of a nuisance for a wife, or isn't it?
Not in the least. Why should it be?
Oh, now, Laura, don't try to cover up my feelings. Just before you came, she was scolding me for carrying thiochlorate around in the family coffee cups.
Well, now, isn't that interesting? Isn't that a coincidence?
Why?
Well, I was just thinking what a fine setup for a murder. Somebody poisons a chemist in his own laboratory. It looks just like an accident. It's neat, huh?
You'll find that Elmer has a morbid mind, my dear. He used to try people for murder back in Illinois.
Oh, I tried some beauties, too. Well, I've got to get along. Sorry I can't accept your invitation for tonight.
Well, but you are staying over for a few days,
Oh,
aren't you?
yes. I'll see you again. Soon.
Well, good.
Oh, don't bother to come to the door with me, Charlie. I know you want to get back to work.
Well, as a matter of
perhaps
fact,
Laura will, huh? Give us a little chance to get acquainted.
Why, yes, of course.
Well, call us, Elmer, don't forget.
Oh, you can depend on it, Charlie. Well. Little Laura Williams.
What do you want?
What do you think old Charlie would say if he knew?
I asked you a question.
I suppose he'd go on loving you in his own peculiar fashion. Never be quite the same, though, would it? There'd always be that little gnawing down, huh? I'm afraid things would be kind of under strain around here, Laura.
You do have a price, I suppose.
I might. By the way, why are you so eager to pay it this time?
I'm happy here. I'm at peace with myself and the world. I don't want anything to change.
No other reason?
What other reason would there be?
I suppose all this property would go to you in the event of another little accident. Huh?
You don't really believe that.
The motive and the means. Money and poison.
How much, Elmer?
Oh, no. You've got me wrong, Laura. I don't want money.
When did that happen?
Did it ever occur to you that I might simply be interested in my brother's welfare?
No. All that has occurred to me so far is to wonder why I had to pick the one man in the world who was related to you.
You want to hear my proposition?
I'm waiting.
The motive and the means. Well, there's always the means for an intelligent person such as you, Laura, but if we took away the motive...
The motive?
The money. The will. No motive, no temptation, you see?
I see.
And in a way, of course, that's for your own protection, too. Because if Charlie ever so much as slipped on a banana peel and you inherited that money, there isn't a jury in the world that wouldn't convict you, Laura, simply on your past record. You realize that, don't you?
Yes.
So, you see, no motive and no case either, you see?
What do you want me to do?
Get him to change his will.
In favor of his only living relative, I presume.
Uh-huh. That's me.
And then?
Well, that's all. And you're in the clear, because after that, Charlie couldn't suspect you even if I told him. He probably wouldn't believe it. Throw me out of the house for persecuting his little bride. Maybe even change his will right back again, you see?
All right.
You can do it, can't you?
I suppose so.
Oh, I know you can. I know you'd better.
Strange request.
Darling, I don't want your money. I only want you.
Well, I know, but after all, I'm considerably older than you are, my dear, and chances are that someday...
No. The whole idea of losing you and then profiting by it, well, it's just hateful.
Oh, but who else would I leave it to?
Leave it to your brother.
Elmer?
Why not? It doesn't matter, but...
Well,
Oh, please, darling. For me.
All right, my dear. If it really makes a difference to you. Now, don't you worry about it anymore. I'll take care of it sometime.
No, I want you to do it now, right away, today.
Well, I'd have to get in touch with my lawyer.
I'll call him for you. I'll get him on the phone right now.
My goodness, Laura. You act as though it were a matter of life or death.
Ambassador Hotel.
Mr. Elmer Garner, please.
Thank you.
Yeah?
This is Laura.
Uh-huh.
It's all right. It's all arranged.
Is there?
Yes, the lawyer's coming tomorrow.
You sure?
Well, I was standing by the phone while he talked to him.
Did he tell the lawyer what changes he wanted made?
Yes, he did.
Not that I think you'd ever tell a lie, Laura, but how do I know this is all true?
Hasn't he told you?
No.
Well, then perhaps you'd better drop by this evening.
Well, that's more like it.
I'll expect you. After dinner.
I'll be there.
Elmer arrived this evening, less than an hour ago. We were having coffee in the living room. Earlier, Charles had been showing him through the laboratory. It was not until after that I had a moment to speak to him alone.
Oh, wonderful fellow, old Charlie. So trusting.
Did he tell you?
Oh, what?
The will.
Oh, that, yes. It seems that I'm to be old Charlie's beloved heir. He still can't understand it.
Are you satisfied, then?
My dear Laura, I was never more satisfied in all my life. Almost evens things up, doesn't it? Almost.
You never forgot that, did you? That you lost.
Lost? Who says I lost? The game isn't over till the whistle blows, sister.
It is for you. Now get out of here.
Okay. Okay, all in good time.
Yeah, sorry I had to leave you, but those reactions have to be checked every hour, you know.
That's all right, Charlie. Laura and I were just going over old times in Illinois. You didn't know we both came from Illinois, did you?
No, I hadn't realized.
Oh, I'm sure I told you, Charles. You must have forgotten.
Oh, yes, well, all right. Coffee ready?
Yes. Will you have coffee with us, Elmer?
Oh, you bet I will.
Anything in it?
No, nothing in mine.
Charles always takes his black, too.
Laura does make the best coffee.
Well, here's to Laura's coffee.
There was something about his smile when he said it. That smile. And then all of a sudden I saw it. I saw the whole terrible thing. Don't drink it. Charles!
Well, old Charlie seems to have keeled over.
Charles!
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if that was thiochlorate poisoning.
Oh, what a fool. What a fool. What a fool.
Uh-huh. The motive and the mean. And the motive is a real beaut this time, Laura, because you had to kill him before he changed his will. Neat, huh?
You killed him.
Sure, but that's not what the jury's going to think. And, of course, I'll get the money anyway. You couldn't very well collect it. Because they're going to hang you, Laura. They're going to hang you.
Elmer is downstairs in the living room. I am in my study. And once more, I am waiting for the police. There is no escape for me, of course. Elmer knows that. But there's one little thing that he has forgotten. The last play of the game. For I've just drawn up a will of my own, leaving my property and everything that I inherit from Charles to Elmer. It's dated 3 days ago. This statement I shall give into the safekeeping of my personal maid, Fredonia Bell, who, after all is said and done, has been the one true friend I've ever had. I shall give it to her with certain instructions for its eventual disposal, which I know she will follow to the letter. When that is done, I have beside me a glass of water. It contains thiochlorate, the motive and the means. Because, you see, when the police come, it is Elmer who will have to do the explaining, not I. And he will have to explain 2 bodies. Charles and mine.
But the irony of the document, ladies and gentlemen, the terrible irony is that it was delivered to the district attorney's office by Fredonia Bell this evening at 8 o'clock. And why did the good Fredonia wait until now? Because she was thus following explicitly the instructions of her mistress, Laura Starling Morton, whom she adored, and who specified that the envelope be handed to the police exactly 24 hours after the execution of Elmer Garner. Good night.
Suspense. Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, made in California for enjoyment throughout the world. This is Ken Niles, and it's my exceedingly pleasant duty, Miss Hayworth, A, to compliment you in the name of some 20 million listeners who must have loved your performance just now, and B, to present to you this gift basket of Grand Estate wines with the compliments of Roma.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Niles. Excuse me, I'm a little out of breath. I don't usually kill so many people, at least not in one day.
Well, how does it feel to play a murderer?
I love it. I've been looking forward to appearing on Suspense for a very, very long time. And, of course, Bill Spear, your world champion producer-director, is one of my oldest and dearest friends.
Well, from the way Bill is waving congratulations and blowing kisses from the control room, I'd say he still loves you. Rita, I suppose you'll welcome a restful evening at home after such an exciting broadcast.
Oh, as a matter of fact, we're having a few friends over tonight, Ken.
Well, from your basket here, let me recommend for your guests Grand Estate Ruby Port or Golden Muscatel. You'll find either of these Grand Estate California wines a delightful expression of hospitality when friends drop in. A delicious treat later in the evening with cake, nuts, or cheese.
You've sold me, Ken.
Good. And Rita, Grand Estate Ruby Port and Golden Muscatel, like all Grand Estate wines, are born of choicest grapes, then skillfully guided to taste perfection by Roma's master vintners. Necessary time and patient care endow each precious drop of Grand Estate wines with a brilliant clarity, full fragrance, and mellow taste that bespeak a truly magnificent wine. So, to enjoy the ultimate in wine excellence, the wine to serve is Grand Estate Wines, presented by Roma, America's greatest vintner.
I'll remember that.
Fine. Say, Rita, we're looking forward to seeing you in Columbia's Down to Earth. Isn't that the one with Larry Park?
Yes, I enjoyed making it. But the picture I'm really looking forward to is the new one I'm about to start. Also a Columbia picture.
Oh? Well, why are you so particularly excited about it?
Well, Ken, because in it will be my favorite actor, and it'll be directed by my favorite director, both the same man who also happens to be my husband. His name is Orson Welles.
Good night, Rita.
Good night.
Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. John Lund as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. Suspense is broadcast from coast to coast and to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.